Hey everyone, it's Cassidy from Money Hungry Freelancers, and it's that time of year again where everyone starts thinking about New Year's resolutions, but it's also a good time to stop and reflect on everything that you've accomplished this year so far. So in this video, let's take a look at all of the New Year's resolutions that I set this year and find out how I did. I have my water, I have some Cheetos, and I have my beautiful list of New Year's resolutions. So let's do this thing. I broke my New Year's resolutions down into two groups. First, I have my business New Year's resolutions, and then I have my personal New Year's resolutions. For those of you who don't know, I am a freelance writer for finance brands. It's honestly incredible. Absolutely love freelancing. It's part of why I created Money Hungry Freelancers, to help other freelancers organize their financial systems so they can also use freelancing to reach their income goals and create a life that they absolutely love. So let's take a look at my business New Year's resolutions. Before this year, I had never made six figures as a freelancer. I've come really close. I made 96K one year. I made 88K last year. But this year, whenever I was thinking about my New Year's resolutions, I was like, I really want to hit six figures. And I could have just set my goal as 100K, but I wanted to kind of have a moonshot goal that was a little bigger and felt a little scarier to achieve. So for me, that was making $144,000 a year, which breaks down to 12K a month. Right now, we still have a few weeks left in 2022, but I am on track to hit this goal. And I'll show you this little list of how my income has tracked out month over month in 2022. So we did hit that goal. Another one of my goals was to have consistent 10K months by March. And after 4 years of freelancing, I have kind of realized that setting a consistent income goal is a little silly because your income fluctuates so much. I mean, just look at the graph that I just posted. Like, it's roller coaster to the max. But for the most part, I did hit at least consistent 10K months this year, so I feel very great about that. My other financial goal for my business was to max out my retirement account. So I have a solo 401k set up with my business through Vanguard, and the max for 2022 was $20,500. I did the math, divided that by 12, so every single month, like clockwork, I have moved that much money over to my solo 401k. So that goal is also great. And those are kind of it for the financial goals for my business. Now, I also had some personal goals that I wanted to reach for my business that weren't necessarily as money driven. So the first big one was to work smarter, not harder. How can I make more money with less work and less resistance and just less stress overall? So of course that one's a little less tangible, but I can tell that I have worked smarter, not harder, just based on the evidence of this year. There were several weeks where I was able to take a random half day or full day off of work, so to speak, just because I had finished all of my work ahead of time. A lot of times in previous years, I was super time crunched, starting articles the day of. Another one of my goals was to get over my fear of social media, and look at me on YouTube doing the thing. So yeah, I have been a little hermit who has been in a little shell, fly on the wall, just observing people on social media rather than actively being involved. Cheeto break. So yeah, this year I treated social media like an experimentational playground, and I just got really comfortable trying to dabble in reels a little bit, trying to just get more comfortable sharing my thoughts and opinions on camera, because all of that's a little scary when you're used to just, sitting behind your keyboard and tippity tapping away for your clients and kind of speaking on behalf of them rather than speaking on behalf of yourself. So I'm very proud of a little bit of progress that I've made in that. The third goal for the personal side of my business was to find a community of like-minded entrepreneurs. Because let me tell you something, being a freelancer and being an entrepreneur and working for yourself, you spend so much time feeling like you're on Lonely Island, feeling like you have no idea what you're doing, and it can be so lonely. So this year, one of my like big resolutions in general was to find a community, get plugged in, cultivate deeper connections with people. And I've done that. Some of my closest friends are other entrepreneurs, specifically those who are also freelance writers, and we have text threads going on constantly. We're on Voxer. We're pumping each other up. We are doing the thing. And I feel like I have some treasured friendships that I don't think I would have had I not specifically made this one of my New Year's resolutions for the year. So, super proud of that. All right, business goals are out of the way. Now let's move into my personal goals for the year. Some of these are like really vulnerable, but I'm going to talk about them because I really believe in the power of setting good goals. So let's dive in. First, let's talk about my financial goal for the year. I've never said that I'm a part of the FIRE community, which is Financial Independence Retire Early, but my husband and I have always made it an effort to try to save like at least 50% of our income. We've been very strategic about keeping our expenses as low as possible while still having fun and doing things. I'm definitely not as frugal as I used to be. So my goal for this year was to have a net worth of $400,000 by the end of the year. That did not happen, mainly because of the stock market. Like, it's been all over the place, and there were so many months where we invested a few $1,000s and overall our net worth still decreased for the month. It was very sombering to look at, but that is just the state of the stock market at this point in time, and there is enough evidence to know that if you just keep investing for the long term, things will work themselves out, and the stock market is a beautiful way to grow your wealth. My other goals were kind of travel related. So I had on my list to go on one international trip, and I fulfilled that in August when I went to Paris. And then my other goal was to go on at least 3 stateside trips, and preferably I wanted one of those to be a girls' trip, because another one of my goals this year was to work on building my independence a little bit. So, cue a little bit of vulnerability. I got married when I was 21. I absolutely love my husband. He is my best friend. I realized, because we've been together for so long, that I just missed that part of like early adulthood where you work on your independence and you do things like, go on trips by yourself. So anyway, that was one of my goals this year. And I did it. In March, I went on a girls' trip to New York with my childhood best friend, Sarah. I went to a mastermind in July where I met up with a bunch of other freelance copywriters, and honestly, the friendships that I talked about earlier, like, they stemmed from that solo trip that I took to this conference. It was absolutely incredible. And then I did go on a few more trips to Minneapolis and Georgia a few times to visit family. Took a lot of day trips to Vancouver, BC. So definitely feel like I crossed that one off the list. Next was in the fitness and health kind of realm. So my husband and I are super big into hiking. And one of our goals originally for this year was to summit Mount Rainier. But as the time got closer and we like started training for it and stuff, we realized that while we could probably push ourselves to the summit and do the thing, that we didn't feel physically strong enough and capable of enjoying the trip. So after a little bit of reflecting, we ended up canceling the trip. So that goal didn't happen. But honestly, I feel really good about it because the closer it got, the more I realized it was out of alignment and I was feeling a lot of resistance to sticking with it and doing it. But a byproduct of that is I did want to get physically stronger this year. I wanted to be able to open jars without needing help, and I wanted to be able to do 5 push-ups in a row, and I wanted to be able to run a mile without stopping. Just little things like that. And I am happy to say that I feel the strongest I've ever felt in my life. Then I had some creative goals. And my creative goals were to read 24 books. That's 2 books a month. I think I hit that goal back in October, maybe. And I'll scroll through, like you'll see a little list here of all of the books that I read this year if you're interested. Some of them were like self-development, self-help kind of things. A lot of them were fiction books. Before 2 years ago, I really wouldn't have considered myself a reader at all, but this was something that I wanted to develop and get into the habit of. Another one of my goals that I have not done is learn to dance. And I don't mean dance as in like, I'm going to be a backup dancer for Taylor Swift. No, I just wanted to learn some cool dance moves other than this. Because right now, like, this is my go-to move. You know, maybe I'll do like a little bit of Running Man or something. But I wanted to spice it up. So I wanted to tap back into my inner child and maybe sign up for like a Zumba class or just learn some cool dance moves on YouTube. I didn't do that yet, but I'll move it to next year. And then my last little section of New Year's resolutions were in the realm of self-development. So, one of my big self-development goals for this year was to attend therapy for the first time, specifically to learn how to manage some driving anxiety I have developed since living in a large city. I began therapy in July, and it has honestly been like the best investment into my self-care. So, for some backstory, I grew up in like a very Christian evangelical circle where you just didn't go to therapy. Like, therapy was kind of frowned upon. You could pray through your problems. If you were experiencing something, you needed to go to church more. And through all of that, like, you would get better. Now that I'm a little older and wiser, I know that that's not always the case. And sometimes you need a professional in your corner who can give you the tools and the resources to actually work through some of the challenges you're facing. And the truth of the matter is, we all have childhood wounds to heal. You could have had the very best parents in the entire world, but at the end of the day, just being able to dig back into your childhood, figure out kind of why you like operate the way you do, how you can work with the way you operate, it's so liberating. And if you have been thinking about going to therapy or just doing more of this self work, like, do it. It might feel like such a huge leap of faith in the moment, but I promise you the hard work will pay off and you will feel so much more authentic and in line with who you are. So, highly encourage it. But yeah, as part of that, I actually went back to driving school this year. Just like you would when you were 15 or 16, I had a driving instructor and we rode around my city and they evaluated my skills and gave me pointers on how to be a better slash safer driver. And I felt so silly doing it, but it really did help me. So, another personal self-development goal that I had was to learn to operate more in abundance. In the finance space, a lot of times you'll hear, especially traditional financial advice, say, you shouldn't step foot in a restaurant if you're in debt, or you need to cut out everything, trim your expenses down to zero, and scrape by and save every single penny until you pay off all of your debt. I subscribed to that advice when I was first trying to get my finances in order. I dove headfirst into like the minimalistic lifestyle, the Marie Kondo, if it doesn't spark joy, don't bring it into your life. Funny side story, I had a pair of Birkenstocks in college that I absolutely loved, and the strap broke on them, and I tried to glue the strap back down, and it only worked for so long, and then the point came where I was like, I think I really need a new pair of sandals, but I was like, I'm not gonna pay full price. So I was like, I will just, pop into a thrift store every once in a while and see if they have the shoes. And if they don't, then it's not meant to be yet. And it probably took me like 6 months to find a pair of Birkenstocks, and they weren't actually Birkenstocks. These were knockoffs. Like, I think I ended up paying like $7 for them at the thrift store, but I ended up finding them with enough patience. And I look back at that story and it's so silly because I was already feeling more financially comfortable, but I just would not give myself permission to buy a pair of shoes full price. So 2022 Cassidy and beyond is learning to operate in abundance. She is buying the things that make her life a little happier, even if it's something I don't necessarily need, like a pair of earrings, or like getting my hair done. I also used to cut my hair myself because I didn't want to pay someone else to do it. And it was really, like, looking back at photos, it was a poor job. Let's take another quick Cheeto break. The moral of the story is maybe I hit like 80 to 90% of my goals. I haven't actually done the math. But there are a few things that I've learned. So, thing number one is that this is my second year setting New Year's resolutions. And I think if you set them with intentionality and purpose, you're going to be more primed to check in with them throughout the year, review them, and actually really want to check them off when the time comes. The second thing is, I learned the whole concept of setting goals you can control versus goals you can't control. And this was a concept I didn't know about when I was setting my New Year's resolutions, but it is something I will carry through moving forward. So, for example, one goal that I could not control was hitting a net worth of $400,000, because ultimately the stock market's unpredictable. But a goal I could have controlled was saving $2,000 a month, creating an email list and emailing that list one time a week. Those are goals that are within your control and that you can then mark off at the end of the year and feel really good about. So keep that in mind. And the final thing is that it's okay if your goals change. Who you are right now is a different version of yourself than who you're going to be like 6 months from now. And a lot of times you may set a goal for yourself, think this is absolutely what I want, and then as you start taking action and doing the thing, it shifts a little bit. So if you set goals for next year and halfway through the year you realize I feel a lot of resistance toward this goal, it feels like something I'm doing out of obligation rather than something I want to do that's going to make me a better person or more in line with who I want to be, it's perfectly okay to let that goal go. All of that to say, if you want to set your own business / personal goals for next year, I have linked the template below that I used to create my 2022 goals. So you'll get this same exact sheet and you can make a copy of it and you can list out your own goals. If you end up doing it, I would love to see what goals you end up putting down. If you want to share with me in the comments below, or if you want to tag me on Instagram at Money Hungry Freelancers. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.